Well, here's the thought. It's more than a thought. It's what I've conceived over a long time, and that is I call it ECAL, Embassy Coalition of Apostolic Leaders. Now this is under ECAL, International Coalition of Apostolic Leaders, which is a global apostolic group headed by John Kelly. Headquarters are in Dallas, Texas, and it reaches the planet. And then we have a U.S. Cal, and of course we have Germany, and we have France, and we have Italy, and we have many of the nations. But then some of us that are in a leadership role in that have our own. We used to call them networks, and when your network grows to the point that it's beyond a family, or even a family of families, clan,
right,
and grows into a tribe, that is, you've got 3 generations in it, which mine does have, and a lot of people. And so what I have done now is I have founded Embassy Coalition of Apostolic Leaders. It's made up of networkers like yourself and others that you know in our group that have their own spiritual sons and daughters that they're raising up into the ministry and into the work of the kingdom. So that's what ECAL is. It's related to the U.S. coalition, headed by Joe Matera and many others that we all know.
Joe. Yeah.
And then the international coalition, headed by John Kelly, and we're in total fellowship with them. But we have our own coalition, and many of us are doing that now around the country and around the world. So here's what is happening with us. We're here, and you know, downtown we have our hub,
Right.
our apostolic hub down there. We've got our studios down there and our radio station and that kind of thing. But here we're in my study, and we have an office here. Thomas and I have his office is right across the little atrium there,
Right.
and mine's here, and we've got other areas that we're developing into some other thing. But what we are doing now that is so important and fascinating, we're developing other ECAL extensions in various states, and you are our director of ECAL in North Carolina. Now you also consult and help with Thomas and me and the corporate office here in financial matters, because that's who you are and what you do, and we need that desperately. But that's where we are headed now. We headed into your state, your territory, to do a congress and to really plant ECAL into North Carolina. So we made all of these arrangements to try to get as many of our connections in place as possible.
So tell me this now. Tell me, what do you see? It's 2017. What do you see in 2022, 2025? What do you see ECAL emerging into? Because that's the word. What do you see her emerging into? And if you wrote, if I gave you a magic pen and you just started writing and it came true, what do you want to see? What do you want to see? Because it sounds to me like this is the piece of your legacy apostolically that you're birthing out.
That's correct.
Your DNA is, your apostolic DNA is being released into the Embassy Coalition of Apostolic Leaders.
It is. I'm focusing on the Embassy Coalition, but it is very much a part of
Sure.
the U.S. and the international. I'm not astray from them at all. In fact, I'm on both boards. I think you know that. I'm on both boards and very, very much involved in this whole development. And I fully intend to stay that way. But it seems to me that there are a number of us that have been at this so long, and God has blessed us and brought generations around us that we can ECAL will be global. Now it will be always in the U.S. coalition, and it will always be in the international coalition.
Right.
But it itself, we will ourselves, like light and salt, leaven. We're going to move into the 7 mountains ourselves.
That's good.
And we're going to give people a sense of family as they move into where God wants them to be. For example, when you do what you do in North Carolina, we're doing it with you and through you, and we hope not only to recognize what you're doing, but to help raise up what you're doing.
Right.
And then to release what you're doing with even a larger authority, and then to resource what you're doing. And so this is what I see happening, and I've got people in Russia and in Ukraine waiting.
Oh wow.
We have
We'll let Thomas go over there.
we have our bishops over there, and we've got 500,000 people over there
Wow.
that God has brought into the kingdom through the work that God has done through CLST, and we have hundreds of churches in a 16-nation coalition over there, just waiting for us. So I'm the great grandpa of that work, and my son, who is the grandfather of that work, goes over there 6 times a year, and I heard from him this morning, and he just got back.
You're talking about Dr. Lusk?
I'm talking about Dr. Dwayne Lusk
yeah.
from Texas, Plano, Texas, and it's just this is what's happening. This is the ecclesia. This is the apostolic movement, and we're not hemmed in by
that's good.
so much tradition and so much bondage of we don't have too much harness for the horse. We let the horse run. We slap something on him, a saddle,
open the
some
gate
kind
and
of
let him
ride.
So here's a question for you, Doc. I got a question with ECAL. So local pastor says, okay, Dr. Cottle, I love your teachings. I know you from CLST. Tell me what the benefit would be for me to be a part of ECAL.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great question. And it happened just recently. We, a young man, could one of you maybe speak to her and tell her I'm on camera? A young man down in South Texas, South Texas, said, Dr. Cottle, you don't know me, but I know you, and I know your work, and so on, blah, blah, blah. And you don't know me, but you're my teacher, and I've been taking your classes for years, and blah, blah, blah. And I said, yes, wonderful, that happens a lot, and I'm so thankful and gratified for it. He said, how could I become a part of ECAL? And so Thomas helped me, and we have brought him. Now he has 3 schools?
Mm-hmm.
3 schools going in South Texas, and he has all three of those, and he has. Are there churches involved in? Three churches
Yes, they are.
involved
I believe
too,
so.
aren't they?
Mhm.
Yeah, three of his churches are involved.
Wow,
So he's a kind of an emerging apostle himself,
awesome.
and he knows that, but he didn't know how to articulate it.
Sure.
And when he heard my apostolic teaching, he said, "Oh, that's who I am."
Yes.
And so he calls us, and
That's
and he
awesome.
makes connection with us, and so now we have fed him and helped him, and he I don't know if he'll be here tomorrow or not, but he does know about the meeting, and hopefully he will be here.
Good stuff.
But that's the way, that, one of the ways that this happens. Of course, it is good to have been around a long time. Like Martin Luther King said in his great speech back in '62, he said, "Longevity has its place." Longevity has its place.
That's for sure.
And it's for sure, it does, and I've got longevity. But those relationships are what we are really looking for, and there are thousands of them out there.
So would you say that ECAL is more? No, I don't know the right words, but it is, and the New Apostolic movement and Reformation is a relational movement. It's an aligning relational movement more than what we've seen in the past.
Yeah.
And when that alignment happens, things just naturally occur. And one of the things for us, for me especially, I've been preaching and doing my deal for a quarter of a century. Wow, it doesn't feel like that long. It went by fast, but also with the business.
I got news for you. It's going
It's
to
going to
go
go
out
faster. Yeah. Also with the business acumen and stuff, the things that I see that I've done, and the thing that I see with the ecclesia is one of the things that I want to bring, me personally, is especially to ECAL, is I want us to begin to put feet to our faith, to put movement to our conversation.
Yeah.
Right? Empowering our people. So being an apostolic leader, being a father, if you will, has to be replicated and duplicated in the next. And that takes movement. That takes movement. That's one of the dynamics that I'm excited to see, is the church as a group, as a whole, begin to embrace this whole deal of coming out of the walls and the mandates that we believe that the Spirit of God can do what He does, and the prophet, the apostle, the evangelist, pastors, and teachers can begin to invade and articulate in the cultures of our spheres and our mountains. That's a big piece that I see, that ECAL, that we're gonna be able to get some, like you said, get some handles.
Yeah.
Get something we can hold on to and drive through our life and our culture.
Yeah, and we need the things. One of the great leaders of China, and he was one of the truly great men of China. I heard him speak. He came to one of our conferences in Dallas, and he spoke. And he said to 500 of us leaders. I was just one of the group.
Sure.
And he said to us, "Look, keep your evangelists at home. We don't need them in China." He did. Well, he almost made some of us angry.
Mhm.
And then he said, "And you can keep your pastors at home too. We don't need them either. We can out pastor them."
Wow.
He said, and your prophets. He said, "We love prophets. I believe in prophecy," but he said, "You can keep them at home too." He said, "We don't really need them. We can prophesy." He said, "But one thing we need." And he started to cry. He said, "For God's sake," he said, "give us your literature. Give us what God has given you,
Jesus.
so that we don't have to start where you started
Mm.
and take decades and centuries to get to where you are."
Powerful.
He said, "We outnumber you 5-1.
It's true.
You have six people in a room, and all of them are Chinese and American, and they're based like they are in the world. He said one of them will be an American, 5 will be Chinese.
Wow.
We outnumber you 5-1. He said, and we can do everything we need to do, but he said, give us what you've done. Don't make us start at the bottom.
Wow.
When he said that, my heart broke.
Sure.
Because in the room I had more because of CLST, our school of 30-some years. We had over 300 courses. God spoke to me that night, and I immediately came home and I put together 100 of our best courses. And I got on an airplane with my president, and I went to China. And I donated those courses. And they're translating those courses now into Mandarin Chinese.
Wow.
And they're putting them out from our great church in Hong Kong. They're putting them out all over mainland of China. So, yeah. See, the problem with the church today is that it has got its back to the world and its face inward. And we're looking at and fighting about things that don't matter. Cultural things, social things, things that don't have a thing to do with evangelism and with worship and with God, and we got to get it turned around. We got to turn our faces outward, like you say, and we've got to invade the culture.
Yeah.
And we've got to transform the culture. God sent Jesus. The Father sent His only Son to model what He wants in the earth. And He wants all of us Christians to become one son, one corporate son, who is a little Christ in the earth, whose Father, who does what His Father says. And that we're a long way from that, but that's our goal. That's where we're headed. That's where I'm headed. And Paul talked about it in the 8th chapter of Romans when he said, the world is holding its breath.
Yeah,
waiting for the
earnest
revelation
expectation
of the sons of God.
Yes.
That corporate son, all of us together, one.
Yeah.
Apostles, everyone look out for himself. But until we can come together.
One voice, one man.
Then we become an army. Thomas and I were talking this morning, and children of Israel, they were slaves when they were in Egypt. God used Moses to bring them out of Egypt, and they were in the wilderness, and they were just a wilderness nomadic people for 40 years. But when they came to the Jordan River, and they could see the promised land in the distance, and they were getting ready to go to the promised land, they had to become something they didn't have to be in the wilderness. They had to become an army.
Right.
They had to become not just a group of people, they had to become an army.
Wow.
Because there were giants over there, they had to take back what the devil had stolen.
That's good.
We have got to become an army. And we're in a third world war.
Sure.
I mean, this is the big war here. And it's a war of the ecclesia, the sons and daughters of God, against demonic powers and all of those that are under their sway. And we've got to become an army before we can become a family nation. A nation family. So that we can become that corporate son.
Wow.
This is where we are right now. This is what is going on right now. This is where we are right now. And It's so exciting. My goodness, I wish I were 38 instead of what I am.
So in order for us, as a corporate body,
Yeah.
in order for us to invade, if you will, to gain the mountaintops in the culture of society,
Right.
you're saying that we have to become one corporate man.
We do.
In order for us to become one corporate man, we have to stop fighting among ourselves about which way to baptize.
That's right. Who cares, for goodness sake?
Just don't come sprinkle them. Yeah, it doesn't
You're
matter.
baptized.
Just go.
Whatever.
Do something, right? But in order to get
Oh
this
my
accomplished, we have to be aligned. And that's what the apostolic is. It brings us into that alignment. So for everybody out there who would watch this extended video, and pray to God Thomas edits this, ECAL. So here's what I want to do with ECAL. Is I want to take the 60 years of life ministry that God put into you. And a wise man once told me, he said, Solomon said, wisdom lies in the heart of a man, but a man of wisdom draws it out. So for me, I see us in ECAL coming together as a family, clan, tribe to not only align apostolically, but to take the pitcher and to tip the pitcher and get out of you what all of this is in there, so that 100 years from now, what God did in your life can still be perpetuating. That's to me, Thomas. That's what ECAL is. It's sons and daughters coming together to say, let's tip the pitcher. Let's pour out all that's in, so that when Dad leaves, it's an empty vessel.
Yeah,
and everything is here.
I want to go to heaven empty. Because
Yeah,
I got
man.
something new coming up there.
Yes,
But
yes.
absolutely, that is a beautiful way to see it, and that's what I want to do, and I believe that every man of God, every genuine man of God, apostolic leader, needs to focus the last 20% of his life in ministry on legacy. Now, not exclusively, obviously, he's got to keep on doing and so on, but he needs to start focusing more on being than doing, and more on legacy than preaching to big crowds.
Yes.
And all of that kind of thing. And a lot of people find that hard to do. Thank God I don't find that very hard to do. I've done that, been there, and
Got that T-shirt.
I got the scars and the T-shirts to prove it, right? But now I want to put a handle on the things that God's given me, so that people can stand on my shoulders
Yes.
and not on the
Start over.
not start over.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My grave will be a launching pad for somebody. You know.
Which is not coming for a long time.
No, it's not
No,
coming for a long time, because I got a lot of work to
A
do.
lot of work to do.
Y'all gotta help me.
Yeah, we're gonna
I know
pull
you
it
will.
out. And there's a lot of things that we're gonna do in ECAL. Like Thomas and I have had conversations about helping pastors and preachers. You know what's funny, Doc? You do this. I've been in CLST, started when I was 20 years old, and been doing this deal for a quarter of a century. But over the course of life, you look and you go, we as preachers of the gospel are the worst at lining up life. In the last 24 months, I've seen more preachers that have given their life away to the gospel, and they die with no life insurance, and leave a wife and a building, and they have no plan. They have no, much less a succession plan. They don't even have a life plan. So all of these things, and it breaks my heart to go, man, this is so simple. For $25 a month, we can take care of your family. And so those are some of the practical things that we're going to bring to ECAL. Are just look, man, we need life insurance. We need to make sure that you're taken care of. If you we're gonna believe God with you. We're gonna believe God, you're gonna live to be 170, whatever. But what if?
Yeah.
You can't control the plane, right? So let's get it together and just in case, health insurance and life insurance and investment strategies and life strategies and how to, I mean, you've got people that can help us write books and all of these things. How, a lot of folks can preach the walls down and can't put it in a articulated format so that we can take from that and go, okay, can I have this and go teach it myself? So those are some of the things that I see ECAL bringing to surface.
We will, and we're going to get there, and hopefully we can be a one shop stop.
Yeah.
And go from there.